to order. The Economic Development Committee is now in session, September the 13th, 2016. Pleased to be joined by my colleagues, Paul Krikorian, and our newest colleague, Mitchell Farrell. Mitch is going to be joining us in place of Nuri Martinez, and so Mitch, welcome.
Thank you.
We have an action-packed agenda, as they all are, for one reason or another. And as we begin, we've got Councilman Marquise Harris Dawson joining us. What an entrance, what an entrance. Councilman, thank you for joining us.
It's good to be here.
All right, we're going to take items 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8 up at this time. And we've got some comment cards. Pat McAllister and Antonia Ramirez. Patricia, I'm sorry.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, how many minutes do I get?
2.
2 minutes for any topic that I want?
Well, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, topic
And
number,
8.
let's go with number 7. You want to give
No, we're doing 1, 2, 3, 4.
They got the clock running. Can they rewind the clock? Because we haven't even gotten started yet.
Yeah, we can rewind the
Okay,
clock.
thank you.
Are you
Okay,
clear on the items? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 8.
Okay, I have a card on 7.
Okay, we're not at 7.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, number 1, this is very vague. You want to use this money for affordable housing? Where? It's relative to the designation of the former Lincoln Heights Jail as a site for economic purposes. I think we need to get some redesign that development so we can build some affordable housing. Okay, that's what we need. We don't need any gyms and sports things. We need some housing. Okay, keep your mind on that. Number 8, City Attorney reported an ordinance relative to amending the Los Angeles Administrative Code to create the Economic Development Trust Fund and authorizing the use of real property trust funds to fund economic development. That's very vague. Come on now. The city attorney, we've got 650 city attorneys, over $1 billion budget, and this is something very vague. How much money, and what are you going to use it for? What do you mean economic development? Economic development, in my opinion, should be housing when all these people laying on the street, okay? Number 9, Wesson, relative to directing the EWDD with the assistance of the Chief Administrator for Economic Development on the south side of Los Angeles. Yes, we need that. Now, I'm very concerned about this number 2 here, Municipal Facilities Committee, acquiring 1300 East 1st Street from the formerly Community Redevelopment Agency to sell to self-help graphics. Now, we're seeing a lot of funds being channeled to private businesses, and I think they're kicking back money to you guys. You're giving loans to these businesses and then forgiving their loans, $1 million loans? What does that mean? If you gave me a $2 million loan for my business, you know I'm going to kick something back to you if you forgive the loan. You're not forgiving these homeowners who have these violations. You're not giving them the money they need, that $5,000 to fix up those violations. So we've got too much money on these 2 sheets of paper. We don't know. It's very vague, the purposes. We don't know where the money is going. I think it's being stolen. We need an investigation here. I'm glad when the Republicans get in.
Thank you for your comments.
God bless the
Ramirez.
Republicans and Donald Trump. Thank you very much. Number 1, economic development in Lincoln Heights. Are you kidding? Lincoln Heights is a barrio cesspool full of filthy, nasty, violent wetbacks, Chango Latino gangbangers, pussies, pigs, and thieves. And so as long as you got these felonious, ugly, nasty thieves, pigs, and vandals, it will remain a pigsty. A better solution is to build more jails, to house them, or deport them. Because the only ones who will make money and live comfortably are the corrupted city officials and the developers and the globalists. All the while, the homeless continues to skyrocket. Thank God for Donald Trump, el jefe. Number 2, I say, no, no, no. We have so many goddamn community services that we're employing these globalists and lazy-ass huevones, that middle-class America and our beloved U.S. military warrior veterans are homeless and sleeping out on the streets because we have so many fraudulent and wasteful community services bogusly assisting the wetbacks, Chango, Latino goddamn gangbangers. And number 4, my goodness, Koreatown or Wilshire Boulevard used to be so beautiful. Give me a break, Cedillo. Go back to the other side. So I say to you, you know, what a shame. Wilshire Boulevard used to be beautiful. It isn't anymore. It's ugly. It is cesspool infested with gangbangers. It's ugly. It's dilapidated. It's been trashed. Number 5, stop hiring these inept Chango wetbacks and gangbangers in construction, for we know that they perform a substandard, shoddy manner, and when the construction accidents happen or the structural defects happen, the floors cave in, the city has to pay out these hefty large sum monies for negligent lawsuits that ultimately comes out of taxpayer money. That's wrong. And do I get and number 7, I am glad that these dislocated wetbacks and gangbangers are out of the hotel business. Do I get to speak on my public comments? I ran out of time?
We'll come back for public comment.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Thank you.
All right. That will conclude the public comment on items 1 through 4 and 8. Unless there's an objection, members, we'll take those items on consent.
Would you like me to read them into the record?
Would you please read them?
Item number 1 is a motion, Cedillo, Wesson, O'Farrell, Price, relative to the designation of the former Lincoln Heights Jail as a site for economic purposes and the development and issuance of a request for proposals for the economic development of said property. Item number 2 is a Municipal Facilities Committee report relative to terms for acquisition of 1300 East First Street for the former Community Redevelopment Agency, Los Angeles, and sale to Self-Help Graphics and Art Incorporated for the provision of community services. Item number 3 is a CRA-LA Bond Oversight Committee report relative to the appropriation of $30,000 in community redevelopment excess bond proceeds for the Crenshaw's Lawson redevelopment project area for consultant services. And item number 4 is a CRA-LA Bond Oversight Committee report relative to the appropriation of $400,000 in community redevelopment Los Angeles excess bond proceeds for the Wilshire Center Koreatown redevelopment project area for infrastructure improvements. And item number 8 is a city attorney report and ordinance relative to amending the Los Angeles Administrative Code to create the Economic Development Trust Fund and authorizing the use of real property trust funds to fund economic development.
Okay. Members, without objection, those items will be taken on consent. That will be the order. Item number 5, Mr. Clerk.
Item number 5 is the Board of Airport Commissioners, Los Angeles World Airports, and City Attorney reports and resolution and ordinance relative to establishing a local and local small business enterprise program for LAWA's procurement of goods, equipment, and services to include design and construction when the contract involves an expenditure in excess of $150,000.
Members, this is something we've been looking at citywide for the past several months. We're excited that LAWA is proposing some changes that we think will enhance the program and expand it. And so why don't we hear exactly what's being proposed? I don't know who's up, Sam?
Sam Semengistu, Chief Operating Officer, Los Angeles World Airports. Currently, Los Angeles World Airports employs several inclusion programs to promote a level playing field for minority, women, and small business to compete in our procurement. That includes the small business program. It's a mandatory program we adopted in 2012. We also have a local business preference program that the citywide program we've been also using in the last 4 years. When we use on our projects federal monies, we also have a DBE, Disadvantaged Business Program, also airport concession business program. In April of this year, our board adopted the local and small local business program that will enhance the participation of these businesses into opportunities. This will give us another tool in our toolbox, especially when we embark on major projects like the land access modernization program. We work with the city attorney, Mr. Mickelson and Mr. Tabaton. We're very thankful, worked diligently with us to codify in a draft ordinance Mr. Mickelson can get into.
Thank you, Samson. David Michelson with the Office of City Attorney. As Samson's pointed out, before you is a proposed draft ordinance that would codify into the Los Angeles Administrative Code a bid preference program that would be focused on local businesses and local small businesses who would be competing for contracts at LAWA. The local business and local small business program would be implemented by LAWA determining on a contract by contract or project by project basis after providing an analysis and determining what percentage would be appropriate for that particular contract opportunity for local business and for local small business. That percentage would be then included in the bid package that's solicited to the public, and bidders that are then going to bid on that opportunity would know what either local business or local small business participation percentage they need to achieve in their bid submission. And they can do that either by the prime contractor being certified as local small or local business, or a subcontractor, or using subcontractors.
The application of the program is rather simple. When we initiate a project, we determine the subcontracting opportunities. If we look at the database of the type of and the number of local businesses that could do the work, and then we determine the level of participation, whether it's 5% or 20% or more. That becomes part of the solicitation. And
So it's case by case, not across the board. It's gotta
that's
be a
correct.
Project by project basis.
Yes, because it varies greatly, the type of projects and the opportunities. Some are specialized work, some are broad engineering work that lend itself for a higher number of percentage of participation. Once that's made part of the bid process, then for a contractor or a bidder to be responsive, they have to meet that level of goal, that level of percentage. Otherwise, they'll be deemed non-responsive. To be sure, the local defined the county of Los Angeles, not just the city of Los Angeles. A contractor to be qualified either has to have headquarters in the county of Los Angeles, or they must have 50 employees working in the city, in the county of Los Angeles 60% of the time.
Is that a small business? 50 employees?
Yeah. So, but if they do not have a large number of employees, then half the number of employees. So, companies that has only 12 employees, 6 of those employees have to be spending 60% of their time working in the county of Los Angeles. That's the definition of the local business.
And I'll add that that formula is already actually in the city's administrative code. A number of years ago, City Council adopted a provision in the administrative code focused on local business, again defined by the County of Los Angeles, not by the City of LA. That's because the city charter is very specific. The city charter allows a bid preference program either for California-based businesses or County of LA businesses. It doesn't drill down below that, and without a charter change, nor could it be drilled down below that. But the ordinance that was adopted by council a number of years ago already provides a bid preference program, and it's been on the books and utilized by various city departments And the formula in terms of determining who is a local business, who is here headquartered in the County of LA, who has enough employees that are working in the County of LA to get that certification, that's a formula that's being pretty closely borrowed here in this particular ordinance.
Now, a major change here is that we are not setting goals. We're putting the requirement as a part of the actual RFP, which is interesting. So we do away with the good faith effort, pretty much. Now it's a matter of, are you in compliance or not?
That's right. This is a departure, and it would be the first ordinance of its kind here in the city, in that the ordinance I was referring to a minute ago, the existing locals business preference program in the administrative code provides a preference in the context of, say, 8%. So if you're a County of LA business and you submit a bid proposal of $100,000, for purposes of your competing with other proposers, your bid would be, if my math is right, $92,000. And if that drops you down to the lowest responsive bidder, you actually get the award, even though you're going to be paid $100,000. That's a common way to do a bid preference. This bid preference is a departure from that. It is defining it differently. The three proprietaries have been utilizing this methodology to some extent, I think, over a fair number of years now, without much concern or any problems that have sort of arisen. One of the things that we discussed at the prior committee hearing a couple weeks ago is for the department, both LAWA and Bureau of Contract Administration, because both departments really are partnering on this, even though it's focused on LAWA, in assistance with our office to provide some additional information as to how LAWA will be coming up with its percentage analysis and establishment on these contract-by-contract basis. Like I said, LAWA has been doing it for a number of years, so they've got a protocol in place, and I think further information will be forthcoming as to how that all works and how it will work in the future.
Now, you mentioned the other organizations, other city organizations. How does this compare with what the Harbor does, what DWP does, for example?
Yeah. So the local business preference program is, as I understand it, it's applied in the other proprietary departments as we have been doing it. What this does is, again, establish a sort of a mandatory participation. So, in other words, when we said, you correctly said it's not a goal, it's essentially a requirement. When we said a 10% or 20% goal, the bidder must meet that goal, otherwise they will not.
You can't say, well, I tried to do it.
That's correct.
And I just couldn't. So.
That's right. You're referring to the old good faith effort. So in that instance, we set a goal at 10, 20%. If the bidder goes through the process of what the good faith effort, they don't necessarily have to meet the 10 or 20% goal.
But they can prove they tried.
Correct, they tried. And we could not award away from them because as a result of Prop 209, that was struck down, and we could not set aside or a mandatory goal. This is a departure, as Mr. Michelson said. The contractor will be required to meet the percentage participation that we set as a requirement.
And Proposition 209, of course, does not speak to local business preference programs, local small business preference programs, more focused on maybe WeBDB, and Prop 209 has restricted local government's ability in terms of how they can do outreach and how they can attract maybe WeBDB subcontractors or contractors.
Mm-hmm. And what's the basis for the $150,000 threshold?
$150,000 is the threshold. Is the executive director's authority is up to $150,000. Anything above that, we take to our Board of Airport Commissioners.
All right, members, any further questions? Final questions? Okay, well, we're going to concur with the IGTCT Committee's recommendations and request LAWA to report back in a year on whether or not this program is working or how it's working. As I said, it could be an interesting template that others can use more effectively. And so we'll also ask the CLA to report back on expanding the policy to other city departments. Should this work well? Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks for the report, and we look
Thank you,
forward to the progress.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just if I could also request that LAWA report on the impact that the practice has had to date, because you've indicated that it has been the practice to give the preference to local businesses and small businesses. It would be interesting to see to date, since I think the practice began in 2011 when we started the citywide preference, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, we adopted it in 2012, correct?
2012,
Yes.
okay. So over the past 4 years, what has been the economic benefit that has come to the city as a result of that practice? I think it would be useful for the committee to know that.
Yep, we'll be happy to report on that.
I think
All right, great. That'll be the order. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Item 6, the Venice bid.
Item number 6 is a city attorney report and ordinance relative to the establishment of the Venice Beach Business Improvement District.
All right, this matter is back before us again. We want to note the city is being sued. We understand there was a challenge because not all the comment cards were read in council last time, and so we are back again considering this bid request. And why don't we start?
Well, maybe I'll kick it off. Dave Michelson with the City Attorney's Office. Indeed, this concerns the Venice Beach Business Improvement District. Late last month, the vote tally on the balloting and the establishment public hearing required under state law took place at full council. A number of members of the public who indicated a desire to speak in front of full council did not have the opportunity to do so. A letter came in from the legal aid of Los Angeles indicating some concerns that not everyone was able to speak. We have gone back working with the clerk's office and the impacted council district, Council District 11, and I think concluded that under the circumstances, it's probably more prudent to sort of redo the public hearing for the establishment. That process under state law does require a minimum 45 days notice, and it does require the reballoting. We do not believe it requires going back to the beginning, which is the petitioning process. So what's before you today is the ordinance of intention, which is what sort of kicks off the process, which will allow the clerk to send out its package to the business owners, including the ballot and notice of the public hearing, which would take place no sooner than 45 days in terms of notice. Christy or Miranda, anything else that we should add? Do you think that's helpful? No. We'd be happy to answer questions.
Okay, I don't know if we have any questions. It passed out last time, and we'll anticipate it'll pass again, but we'll take some comment cards and call you back if there's a need.
Will do. Thank you,
So
Councilman.
thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
We
Chairman.
got some cards on the issue, and we don't want to repeat the error that was repeated last time, not in this committee. But we've got speaker cards by Debbie Harris, just full disclosure. Debbie Harris, Melissa Williams, Tora Devine, and Steve Herman.
Where's my number 8?
This is number 6. Okay. If any of you are here and you still desire to speak, come forward.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Tara Devine. I'm with Devine Strategies, and I am the consultant to the property owners who seek to form the Venice Beach Business Improvement District. As noted, we are here today. We think this is relatively a formality. I will say that there are those among us who feel that the cure is not proportional to the ill, and we're sorry to be here, but we will soldier on. We think that the ballot vote, which was not questioned and was not in any way incorrect, was a deciding referendum. We passed 77 to 23%, and that actually represents more than 73% of the owners in the district actually bothered to vote, which is an exceptionally high turnout for a bid. So 73% of people voted, and 77% of them said yes. So we hope to be back before you and council again with the similar outcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Melissa Williams. I'm here representing Hotel Irwin, a small boutique hotel in Venice Beach. I'm here just to also lend my support for this BID. I'm a long-term resident of the area, born and raised in Santa Monica. This is home. But right now, it's clearly evident that we do need further assistance and resources to make sure that our Venice Beach area stays clean and safe, not only for tourists, but for all of us to enjoy the area. This is an initiative that business owners, community members, and everyone just wants to get behind. And really, our ultimate goal is to just keep the area safe for all of us.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Steve Heumann. I'm here representing Sidewalk Enterprises, a family-owned business that owns property representing 500 linear feet along the Venice Boardwalk. I've spoken here to you before, so to be brief, we support the formation of the Venice Beach Business Improvement District. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Debbie Diner Harris, Councilmember Mike Bonin's office. I'm his district director. And he stood before you a few months ago in support of this business improvement district, and he wants to reiterate again his incredible support for the improvements that this district will provide to the community. We think it's an excellent way of partnering with the community to do some of the things that we really haven't been able to do. And as Ms. Devine said, there is significant support for this amongst the property owners, and we hope that you will approve this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Members, any comments? We know what an extraordinary job bids have done around the city. We have no reason to believe this will be any less effective. We're going to recommend that we adopt a new draft ordinance of the intention attached to the city attorney's report dated September the 2nd, 2016. Unless there's an objection, that will be the order. That is the order. Thank you. Move on to item 7.
Item number 7 is a joint economic and workforce development department workforce development board report relative to authorization to accept and allocate up to $800,000 in dislocated worker additional assistance, workforce innovation, and opportunity act funds to provide reemployment services to workers dislocated from the Hyatt Regency Century Plaza Hotel.
Gentlemen?
Yes. Good afternoon. Robert Sines, Assistant General Manager for Economic and Workforce Development Department. So we're glad to be here in front of you today. We are in receipt of a grant from the State of Economic Development Department for $800,000 to serve dislocated workers that came as a result of the Hyatt Regency undergoing its major renovations. So the dollars will be serving those folks that have been dislocated from their current jobs because the hotel had to close over the next 14 months, and it's also going to be downsized. So many of these workers are actually going to be trained and replaced in other union local hotels.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Greg Irish, Workforce Development Board. The hotel closed in March. It's being downsized. As you know, they're building 2 residential towers, then they're also going to build a shopping center there. It's going to go back, I think, it's going to go from 700 rooms to 350, so there will be a new boutique hotel. We've already started the process of placing the 654 folks who are impacted by this. This grant is to serve the remainder. I think we've been pretty successful. I think it's around 200 we've placed already. This was a matter of having supplemental funds so that we can complete the retraining. We'll put them through all kinds of retraining. A lot of them will go to other hotels, but chances are they won't go in the same professions. Cooks, front desk staff, they'll all be retrained so that they can meet the needs of some of the hotels that you guys have approved that will be coming online soon. So we're prepared for this.
And how's the department going to address the remaining workers? members? I mean, are there,
Well, as you
are there
know,
some who are not going to be covered with this program? Or?
Yeah, the 200 we used existing funds to place. This 800 will serve the majority of them that are left over. Of course, some have already been transitioned over because most of them are affiliated with Unite Here, Local 11. And also, you know, as part of our $76 million allocation of workforce development funds, we already have existing funds for that as well. So all we're doing is putting a combination of funds together to serve these folks. We're doing what you've asked us to do on many occasions to respond to any downsizings and contractions that's happening. What we prefer to do is always go after additional state money so that we can actually provide additional services because we have a limitation as to the cost of training. This allows us to elevate the training. Some of the training's done by Unite Here, some by community colleges, et cetera, especially when we're talking about chefs and things like that. So we use our existing system. We're using an existing WorkSource center that's partnering with other partners so that we can leverage money in this event as well.
Well, it looks like we're kind of ahead of the curve on this one as well, so it makes a big difference. Are there other hotels going through something similar like this? Are we aware of any other hotels?
Most of the hotels, and because most of the employees that were laid off in this circumstance, actually all of them were unionized, were union members, we're going to try to place them with existing union hotels. And as you know, there are a number of hotels that are coming online. So we should be ready for that, including the one at 7th and Fig that's going to come online. There'll be some extra jobs affiliated or associated with that new hotel. But as you know, there are a number of hotels that are going to be actually active in 2017. So we'll be ready for that as well.
Okay, members, any questions, comments? Okay, gentlemen, thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your efforts, and we look forward to getting an update on how well this program has been. All right. We've got two cards on this item, Antonio Ramirez and Patricia McAllister. Either of you are welcome to come to the table.
Number 7, sir?
Pardon?
Did you say number 7?
Yes, I did.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Maybe this is a blessing in disguise. I have stayed in hotels for the last 4 or 5 years and spent over $80,000 because I'm a victim of gang stalking. So I am angry that every one of the hotels, from the Hiltons, the Palomars, the Hyatts, and all the hotels that I have stayed at for $100 and $200 a night, I end up getting these wetback maids, etc., that go into your room and say, "Oh, I'm sorry," when I clearly have said, "Do not enter my room." I've left messages to all the individuals for no maintenance unless I'm there. They've entered my room, rummaged through my things every single time. Angry? I'm angry. I feel violated. There's not one hotel that does not allow anybody inside without your permission. They all go in the hotel room and they go through your things, and that's why many of us experience ID theft, and then sell it in Tijuana and Central America for $5,000 a pop. So God bless America.
Thank you.
File a class action lawsuit.
Thank you.
It's a coincidence that she mentioned that because this is what I want to talk about. We know these hotels are staffed with illegal aliens. Come on now. We shouldn't be paying any $800,000 for illegal aliens to be trained. Plus, we know the WorkSource centers are all jacked up. One agency on 9th Street, WorkSource, stole about $5 million. They're in prison. So we don't need this, okay? We need housing. We got people laying on the street, Skid Row filled with black people. About 80,000 blacks are homeless in Los Angeles County. So we need you guys to wake up and generate and fund this money to housing developments. Quit trying to steal. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton have stolen millions, and look at her. She's almost dead, and he looks like he's on crack with AIDS. It's not the money, okay? You will be held accountable for what you're not doing on this council, and I want you to know that. You will be held accountable to be physically or mentally, just like Hillary, and yours is both. Okay? So I'm just warning you. She's an example, and she's a low-down Democrat.
All right. Thank you. Okay, members, we will, unless there's an objection, approve the report recommendations. Without objection? That will be the order. Thank you. Okay, item 9.
Item number 9 is a motion prize Wesson relative to directing the EWDD with the assistance of the CLA to report with recommendations for developing a comprehensive economic development strategy for South Los Angeles.
Well, we know that the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy, or CEDS, is a requirement prior to any kind of federal funding, and I think this is an exciting time for us to explore these opportunities, especially in South LA with the Promise Zone designation. But let's ask the GM for Economic Development to come up and give us an update on CEDS, where we are, and what it will do, and how we can use it.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. I'm Jan Perry, General Manager of the Economic and Workforce Development Department. And just to review the record, back in May 31st, 2016, the Council took an action to approve the CLA-CAO recommendations to instruct our department to prepare a request for proposal for a consultant to prepare a citywide economic development strategy, or CEDS. The recommendations were approved by Jobs Committee on April 19, 2016, and then Economic Development Committee again on May the 10th, 2016. We incorporated and have made a matrix of many of the council members' comments, including yours, Mr. Price, to make sure that we incorporated those into our scope of work. Some of the things that you mentioned were engagement, further, deeper engagement of micro businesses, cultivating entrepreneurial spirit, deeper alignment of the workforce centers with job creation strategies, and a deeper and more expansive consideration of reentry populations. We have begun our work on the scope of work for these CEDS, and have begun with focus groups. Citywide and area-specific analysis will be included in economic strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities, recommendations to enhance existing tools or create new tools to support economic development that certain parts of the city don't currently enjoy. And that's, I'm sure, a particular interest to you in South Los Angeles. And our goal is to release a completed strategy in the early part of 2017. The interim components would be provided on an ongoing basis for discussion and consideration and review in advance of the final outcome. The goal, again, as I mentioned to you, is not to create a strategy that would sit on a shelf, but allow the city to be much more competitive with the federal government for such departments as EDA, DOL, HUD, just to name a few, any department where the city can successfully and competitively reach in and compete for money for programs. So we want this to be a document that is useful and not something to act as a paperweight. So the CLA-CAO report referred to the $1.5 million in the unappropriated balance for economic development initiative activities, and that included strategic planning related to citywide economic development. So once we get through the scope of work and then bring it back for review by the committee, we will also provide an estimate for the cost of the consultant contract and recommendations so that we can move forward from the scope of work to release the RFP. That's it.
Is it envisioned that these the studies are going to be done simultaneously, or are you going to focus on one area first, like South LA, or what's the
when we put the RFP out, and we hope that the scope of work is sufficient enough to attract a team that is inclusive and diverse in their skill set and has experience in areas that have high levels of challenge, underutilization, poverty, and there will be a number of markers that we'll use that you'll be able to have a chance to look at before we issue it publicly. But I would expect that we'll get a team that will have multiplicity of experts in the areas that would be important to South Los Angeles, East Los Angeles, Wilmington, Pico Union, parts of the San Fernando Valley that, again, are underutilized.
When was the last time the CEDS was updated?
I checked. It was done in the prior administration. What year? I don't have the year, but it was done once in the prior administration.
Anyway, it's time for an update, especially if we're serious about moving forward with additional funds.
Yeah, it'll help us. It will help us get be competitive for more federal money.
And again, it's timely, I think, with the review being done by the Ad Hoc Jobs Committee, the product that came out of there, and other initiatives focusing on, how we can create a better environment for small businesses, especially to succeed. Members, any questions on the SEDS so far? Okay, let's adopt the motion, and we look forward to a report back.
And we'll incorporate what you are asking for in your motion and our overall effort. And is that what you're?
Right. And the goal is to have something back to council by the end of the year?
Yeah. We were
First of the
planning
year?
on doing that anyway.
Go out?
Yeah. So we won't be doing a simultaneous, we won't be doing a second effort. It'll be part
One.
of our overall. Okay. I just need a clarification on that. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Okay, Mr. Clerk, anything, what's before us at this time?
No, sir.
How could I forget? Right, well, we've got some public comments, 2 additional public comment cards we'll take. Patricia McAllister and Antonia Ramirez.
As soon as we get the Republican Donald Trump in office, I want a federal investigation of the city attorney's office in Los Angeles. 650 attorneys. Now here you're trying to funnel the sale of city property into an economic development fund. This is a joke. You know what you're doing with economic development with those funds? You're supposed to be training people and getting people jobs with that money. Okay, and you know you're not doing that. You've got millions of unemployed. Sit down, fella, I'm talking. You got millions of unemployed Los Angeles people here. You're not using that money the way you should be using it. This is a scam. This right here, for people who are listening to me, go online, I got people listening, and get the agenda item number 8. The city attorney is setting up this new fund to funnel money from selling the property into economic development, getting jobs for people. That's a joke. You haven't gotten a job for a darn person except your relatives and friends.
Thank you.
Bravo, bravo. Payback is a bitch. It all comes back to bite. Your big enchilada Economic Development Committee members have made no mention whatsoever on job hirings for the United States military veterans or legal law-abiding American citizens. They are only working and benefiting these wetbacks and gangbangers and all other dislocated chango pussies to the tune of $800,000. So I suggest fire the entire Economic Development Committee members and all the big enchilada developers, hotel kingpins and corrupted city officials, and all the globalists or the Illuminati, and have them move to the streets. They can camp out on Broadway Street. There is plenty of room on the streets. They can shower, bathe, and laundry at Skid Row and get their butts kicked, get robbed, vandalized, and enjoy the stress, the torment, the mental torture, and physical hardship. And I'll say, welcome to the horrendous world of chronic homelessness, and know how it feels. Because if anybody knows, I'm homeless, not because I deserve it, but because I stood on principle, and I'm not a butt kisser, like the city attorneys are. Thank you very much. God bless America and Donald Trump.
Any other business before us, Mr. Clerk? Any other business before us, Mr. Clerk?
No, sir.
This meeting is adjourned.